this microphone too. There we go. Yeah, it's not plugged in. Sorry, Mark. I'm rushing today. I've got technically started an hour and a half ago, but I'm going to try and be there in by lunch. But that means I'm rushing. Okay, just checking my microphone levels. There we go. Fantastic. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, the 24th of October. It is the end of the week, and we're going to be wrapping up looking at the AI news and updates, what's going on in the world of artificial intelligence, and then closing out for the weekend and hoping for no more gigantic releases, although I'm pretty sure Gemini 3 is on its way very shortly. So, what have we got to look at today? We have Clippy. Clippy is back. So Microsoft have brought back an AI assistant. It's not actually Clippy, but there is a little Easter egg I'm going to show you in a moment. We also have news of a big deal between Anthropic and Microsoft. Feels to me, sorry, Anthropic and Google. Feels to me like Google are fighting back. They know they need to push back against OpenAI, especially after the release of the Atlas browser earlier on in this week, and working together with Anthropic makes a lot of sense, so we're going to talk about that. I'm also going to look at this interesting, very interesting, sex warfare to steal Silicon Valley secrets. This is a piece of investigative reporting saying that Russia and China are sending individuals over to seduce and even marry engineers in Silicon Valley in order to extract AI secrets. We'll have a look at that. And the statement on superintelligence, I wanted to quickly run through that, which is a, I don't know how you'd call it, a petition? Yeah, I guess it's a petition saying that we need to slow down the rise of superintelligence, and it's been signed by some pretty heavy hitters in the field. So we'll have a look at that as well. Then I'm going to loop back to the tool that I vibe coded yesterday because I got annoyed because Linktree have raised their prices by 60%. So I've actually cancelled my Linktree account now because they're going from, I think it was $9 up to $15 a month, which, I mean, is not the end of the world, but it just seems very greedy. So in about 10 minutes yesterday, I created my own version of Linktree, and I'll show you the end result today. Cool. First, let's hop in and look at Clippy. So Clippy is back. Clippy has a new name though. This is Mico or Mico, must be Mico because it's Microsoft. So they have a new mascot, and it is quite cute. It's very Pixar. So Microsoft has a new Clippy, and it's an AI friend called Mico. Anyone who's younger probably has no idea what Clippy is. That's a good thing. Clippy was an absolute nightmare. Clippy's become a meme at this point. It was like a sentient paperclip that would sit on the side of Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, etc., and yell advice at you. And it was never very good. It was a very early form of artificial intelligence. It used things like decision trees, so you could click through and get advice on it. But it wasn't good. It was way before its time. It must be over 20 years old by this point. So they have a new version of Clippy called Mico, which hopefully is a little bit better. So at the company's Copilot fall release, which was yesterday, the company introduced a range of new features to update its AI chatbot. But one that telegraphed how the tech giant intends to bring AI to consumers, this feels like PR speak, was the official introduction of AI chatbot's Face, an expressive avatar blob named Mico. The company explains that Mico, its name a nod to Microsoft Copilot, oh really, thank you TechCrunch, is meant to offer consumers a warm and customizable visual presence that listens, reacts, and even changes colors to reflect your interaction. God, such a load of corporate speak. It's a little avatar, it's a little dude who's going to talk to you. And I think it's quite cute. If the talking AI helper immediately brings to mind Microsoft's infamous productivity assistant Clippy, you wouldn't be wrong in thinking that. It seems that Microsoft has decided to embrace the reference to its age-old companion, and there's even an Easter egg where if you tap on Mico a number of times, it will transform into Clippy. And if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see what that looks like. So it turns into a modern version of Clippy. I actually think the design is a bit reminiscent of Clippy anyway. It's got the little eyebrows, kind of the mouth, so it looks a bit like Clippy. I think this is cute, and it's great to put a face on your AI, especially if you're going for a wider consumer market. What other AIs have done it? I mean, Grok has Annie, but that is a very different choice. The main updates to Annie at the moment are you can put her in different clothing options, including lingerie. Basically, it's like, okay, they're going in a very certain direction with Annie, and it's also allows not safe for work conversations. I think Mico is going in a very different direction, which is just a friendly face for your AI companion, and I assume you cannot have not safe for work conversations with Mico. Somebody will try. The internet's a weird place. The feature is enabled by default when you're using Copilot's voice mode. Okay, but users can turn it off if they choose. So the voice modes, like in ChatGPT, they do have more personality, and you can even choose between the different voices inside of ChatGPT. It's interesting that ChatGPT never went in the direction of giving it a face. I can kind of see why though, because if you give it a human face, you're kind of drawing a line, and some people will like it, some people won't. Whereas with something like Mico, it's very inoffensive. It's a blob, basically, a cute looking blob. You'd be hard pressed to hate Mico. Whereas if they gave the various voices in ChatGPT, like Sky, I forget the names of them all, but they have different voices and different personalities. If they suddenly gave them a face now, people would be like, oh, well, that's not my Sky. That's not what Sky looks like. So I think that's a decision they've made and they have to stick to now. So there are a few other announcements from Microsoft, including they have a new browser. So this is 2 days after OpenAI's Atlas came out, which we've talked about extensively. I think it's telling that if you're looking at my screen right now, I'm using Chrome. I'm still using Chrome, and I will continue to use Chrome at least until the dust settles down around the security debates. So Microsoft have also pushed out a new AI browser, but what they're doing, which is much more sensible, is they are just adding Copilot into their existing browser. So they're not splitting off a new one, unlike what they call the browser company. So the browser company have Arc, which is their non-AI browser, and they have Deer, which is their AI browser. And they're doing two different browsers, which doesn't make much sense. And actually yesterday we heard that Deer is no longer going to be supported, and they're focusing all of their efforts on Arc. So what I assume is going to happen is they're going to bring the AI components into Arc, and then just focus there. That's the path that Microsoft are taking too. They have Microsoft Edge already, for better or worse, and they are going to add a Copilot mode into it. This is 100% what Google will also do with Chrome. So I think all of this discussion about AI browsers, whether you're using Perplexity's Comet, whether you're using Deer by the browser company, whether you're using, what are the other ones, Strawberry, Atlas from OpenAI, all of them will probably cease to matter as soon as Google gets its act together and just adds Gemini into a sidebar. Because that's what all of the AI browsers have done so far, is that you have your normal browser experience, which is based in Chromium. Chromium is used to build all of these browsers. That's why they all look the same. And then you have on the right-hand side a ChatGPT box, basically, or an AI box, which allows you to talk to the web page, to discuss, as well as trigger agents that work in the browser. As soon as Google implements that into Chrome, that's kind of the ball game. Chrome has a 70% market penetration. People are used to using Chrome. The only people playing around with these AI browsers are people who are kind of at the forefront of tech and trying these things out. So for everyone else, as soon as they can Chrome, that's it. That is the new AI browser. So I imagine we'll be seeing that shortly from Google. They don't need to rush though. There's no need for them to sprint out an AI browser or to add it into Chrome, because they own 70% of the market penetration already. So yeah, it's going to get chipped away at by these new browsers, but they have such a dominant position. I think they're in a place of safety, and they can develop this safely and on their own timescales. I'm going to hop over to some questions, and then we're going to look at Anthropic. How rude of Linktree. Yeah, so what I'm actually thinking, there's a whole bunch of different software products out there who all charge not huge amounts of money, but 10, 20 pounds a month. The problem is when you have 5 or 10 of these all chugging along in the background, suddenly you're spending hundreds a month, and you're not really using them all, and they kind of start to add up, especially if you're a smaller business or you're an individual. So for me, I'm running it through my business. It's not the end of the world, but they do start to add up. And so my business partner sends me a spreadsheet every 6 months. And he's like, hey, are any of these subscriptions things that we can get rid of? And generally, yeah, there's a handful. It's like, oh, crap, I haven't used that for a while. Get rid of it. I think increasingly we can look at that list. We can look at the list of subscriptions that we currently pay and think, oh, why am I paying £30 a month for this? I only use 10% of its features. I use it once every 3 or 4 months. So it's costing me a lot of money to maintain that subscription. Could I just make my own version? So what I'm thinking of doing is a series of videos where I just go through all of the top tools. So things like Typeform, document signing, Feedly, so kind of an RSS feeder, Linktree. God, what else is there? What else do people pay for? Just go through each of these tools and build a basic version using Vibe Code and show people that they can build them themselves. And actually hop over to my Linktree that I created. So this took me 10 minutes yesterday. So it's based on, let me pull up the screen. It was based on this tweet, which I saw from Marketing Max saying, we're increasing the prices from $9 to $15 a month. 60% increase is kind of greedy. So I went away and I created, you can see it on YouTube, basically a backend which allows me to add links. I can add an image, I can add an animation to it, a title, a URL, description, like everything that you'd add on Linktree basically. I can shuffle the order on this page, move them around. I don't need to save anything, that is automatically saves. I can delete these links. I can see how many clicks are on the links. I have some more analytics elsewhere as well. I can make them invisible. So let's say I do a sponsorship deal with somebody. I don't really do this often, but let's say they get to put their link on my bio for a week or so. I could then make it invisible after a week, etc. I built this in 10 minutes whilst I was doing yesterday's stream. So I just gave a very basic prompt to Claude Code. I said, hey, I want to make my own Linktree. And I gave it a screenshot of what Linktree looks like, and it's like, yeah, cool, and just built it for me. And then we go to the public page, which is, it's fine. This animation is a bit over the top. I need to reduce that because that is mad, but otherwise it just looks like a Linktree page. And you can click on these, it's got my social links. You click on these and it goes to the pages. Like, so I was able to cancel our $15 a month subscription yesterday. Just like, okay, done. No longer need to pay that. Again, this is very easy to do. This took 10 minutes. Is it as good as Linktree? No. Does it need to be as good as Linktree? No. No, it doesn't. It needs to have a handful of links that people can click on. That's it. So I think a lot of the companies, SaaS companies, need to be careful. They need to be really careful with their pricing as people realize that they can do this themselves. So I think it would be fun to do a kind of set of videos or lives where you guys basically tell me what software you'd like to see replicated, and I replicate it. Obviously, depending on the complexity of the software, it will be more or less possible. So if somebody says, oh, I'm paying $2,500 a month or $10,000 a month for Salesforce, can you replicate that? It's like, oof, that's a bit harder. But we can do the smaller kind of modules. We can do little parts of Salesforce, for example, or we can do these standalone SaaSes like Typeform, and we can just build them. And I'll show you how I build it, and then you guys can build your own at home. I think that would be a fun series. Lyra and Bacchus, the personalities have names. Yeah, on ChatGPT advanced mode, voice mode, they have different names. What are they? ChatGPT. Oh, here we go. What did I say? I said Sky. I made it up. There's Arbor, who is easygoing and versatile. There is Breeze, animated and earnest. Cove, composed and direct. Ember, confident and optimistic. Juniper, open and upbeat. Maple, cheerful and candid. And Soul, savvy and relaxed. They've been named by somebody who's probably into star signs. They're very cute names. Oh, Spruce is calm and affirming, and Vale is bright and inquisitive. So I said Sky. I just made that up, and totally, I don't know what Sky is. I am named after the Isle of Skye, though, the Kyle of Loch Alsh, which is the piece of water between the strait of water between the Isle of Skye and the mainland. I'm mainly Scottish, not that you'd be able to tell from my accent. Oops, daisy. A lot of products, not all, need ongoing dev maintenance that most won't do. Yep, that's true. That's true. We're talking mainly about simple tools like a link tree, for example. Doesn't need much maintenance. It is a page that has links on it. Very, very simple. Good morning, Momin. Right, I'm going to hop over to the Anthropic story. Is a bit boring. Let's go to the female sex spies story. That's a lot more interesting. There's a story from Anthropic about a multi-billion-dollar cloud deal with Google. Whatever. Let's talk about the sex spies. It's much more interesting. So this is a piece of investigative reporting from the Times. Female spies are waging sex warfare to steal Silicon Valley secrets. That's a headline. This is much better than data centers. So China and Russia are sending attractive women to seduce tech workers, even marrying and having children with their targets. It's a wild west out there, says an insider. Chinese and Russian operatives are using sex warfare to seduce and spy on Silicon Valley professionals, industry insiders have told the Times. The chief intelligence officer of Premier Consulting, which provides risk assessments, is talking about this. He says, I'm getting an enormous number of very sophisticated LinkedIn requests from the same type of attractive young Chinese woman. It seems to have really ramped up easily. And he talks about how a business conference... Is it all talking about this one dude? Wait a sec. It's not just one dude talking about how people are hitting on him, right? That would be very funny. No, I don't think it is. Okay. He also described how at a business conference on Chinese investment risks, two attractive Chinese women showed up and attempted to gain entry. We didn't let them in, but they had all the information about the event and everything else. Okay. He added, it is a phenomenon, I'll tell you, it is weird. So he's a guy who has studied honey trap tactics for years. Okay, it's not just him. That would be very funny. So apparently this is something that is going on inside Silicon Valley, where I guess foreign operatives are being sent over to try and get secrets, to try and get information from software developers, which, if true, this seems extremely anecdotal to me, but if true, underlies the strategic importance of technologies like artificial intelligence. So both China and America have gone ahead and said that this is strategically important. China said this a couple of years ago. Xi Jinping said, this is what we're focusing on. This is important to the future of China. Whereas America officially announced it earlier this year with the US AI Act that Trump put out, saying, hey, we need to take this seriously. And it was very explicitly a anti-China statement, basically saying we need to lock this down so we have strategic relevance and strategic dominance in the world against China. Very, very specifically, it was about that. So I would not be surprised if there is espionage going on. This article, though, it seems pretty anecdotal. It's a number of case studies. What I'll do is I'll put it in the newsletter so you can go through it, because it is pretty funny. But yeah, of course there's going to be spying. Of course there's going to be trying to take secrets. I'm always surprised by this when people get surprised that espionage exists. It's like, yeah, of course they're good. Like, I'm sure America's doing the same. This is the game, unfortunately. But what I found really funny about this was I first saw this on Reddit and on Twitter, and there were lots of people in the comments saying, "Oh, I'm a single, sexually frustrated software developer in San Francisco. Please don't target me." Anyway, I will put this article in the newsletter, because I'm not sure if it's as rigorous as I thought it might be. It definitely just seems to be a series of anecdotes, unfortunately. But still, it's a good headline. I'll give it that. Oops, Daisy. Have you seen the research paper about ChatGPT being heavily racially biased against white racists? Yeah, I saw Elon Musk posting this, which makes me worry. I haven't read the paper itself. I would imagine that this, if this is happening, this could have come from the reinforcement learning from human feedback stage of training, where it's where racial bias is positive racial bias is put in place, basically. So they will make sure that there is no racial bias against non-white groups. So I imagine statistically that has now come out as pushing back in the other direction. I haven't looked at the paper though, so I do not know, but I will have a look at that and talk about it next week. Okay, let's have a look at, speaking of ethics, the statement on superintelligence. You've probably seen this floating around. So a lot of heavy hitters are signing this. It is a petition. I'm not quite sure what they're hoping to do with it. They've got 30,000 signatures so far, which isn't that many. But it's very low, actually. So the statement on superintelligence context. Innovative AI tools may bring unprecedented health and prosperity. That's a good sentence to undercut your argument. However, alongside tools, many leading AI companies have the stated goal of building superintelligence in the coming decade, which can significantly outperform all humans on essentially all cognitive tasks. This has raised concerns ranging from human economic obsolescence, and disempowerment, losses of freedom, civil liberty, dignity and control, to national security risks and even potential human extinction. The succinct statement below aims to create common knowledge of the growing number of experts and public figures who oppose the rush to superintelligence. So the statement is, we call for a prohibition on the development of superintelligence, not lifted before there is, 1, broad scientific consensus that it will be done safely and controllably, and 2, strong public buy-in. And then it has a list of the people who have signed it, including famously Geoffrey Hinton, one of the godfathers of AI, the world's second most cited scientist. Really? Wow, damn Geoffrey. Joshua Bengio, he's where is he? Professor of computer science at University of Montreal, Turing laureate, and the world's most cited scientist. Okay, Steve Wozniak, so the co-founder of Apple, Sir Richard Branson, Steve Bannon. Okay, Glenn Beck. Oh, Glenn Beck is the conservative guy, right? Yes, he is. Okay, interesting. Mike Mullen, I don't know who that is. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under George W. Bush and Barack Obama. Joe Crowley. Okay, so it's quite an American-leaning group. And then we've got faith leaders. Don't personally recognize any of those names. Policymakers. Lots of, looks like mainly Democratic Congress people. Arts and media include Steve Bannon and Glenn Beck and Yuval Noah Harari. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who is very anti-AI. Sir Stephen Fry, Kate Bush. Okay, it's a it's a strange mix, I'll put it that way. So they've got some heavy hitters, I would say, like Geoffrey Hinton, Steve Wozniak. Those would probably be the two. Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, and Meghan. Okay, this is a very odd group of people, and they have 30,000 people who have signed it. I'm surprised it's not higher. Because there are always these. Oh, they've got their statistics here. So 64% of people apparently believe superhuman shouldn't be made until proven safe and controllable, or should never be made. So that is a public survey, and 73% want robust regulation on advanced AIs. So if that is the case, and if people are really fearful of this stuff, why have they only got 30,000 signatures? That doesn't seem like very many. This could be a marketing problem. Maybe they haven't got it out to enough people, but that seems like a very low number. I'm basing this on, in the UK, we have stupid petitions on that we send up to the Houses of Parliament for saving crisp flavors and stuff like that, which will get hundreds of thousands of signatures, whereas this only has 30,000 signatures and is arguably a lot more important than crisp flavors or whatever it is we're gunning for at the moment. And then they have public statements by non-signatories, including Sam Altman. So these, they haven't signed, but they've made statements. They've got one from Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, saying, I think there's a 25% chance that things go really, really badly. Okay, I think I'm not particularly impressed by this. I thought this was going to be a bit more robust. I'd love to know what other people think about it, though, and if you've signed it. I think that we do need to have discussions about superintelligence. One of the big problems is that we don't really have a very good definition of what it is. We're still arguing over what AGI is and what ASI are, and when we will get there and what it will look like, and will we know what it is once we get there. And then there's the big, and this cannot be ignored, there is the big factor that this is fine. This looks like an American, primarily American-led statement. If America slows down, China is not going to slow down, and vice versa. If China slows down, America is not going to slow down. This is, again, strategically important. So you need a unilateral decision. Humans historically have not been very good at this. The one that is always cited is the ozone layer. We managed to deal with the ozone layer, and we managed to get a fairly unilateral banning of CFCs, and we managed to close up, or at least deal with the ozone layer. That is the example that is always trotted out as, oh, we can actually do this, because there aren't very many other examples. Generally, humans are driven by, well, in the case we're seeing right now, America and China are fighting for global hegemony, and they're going to be doing it through soft power, they're going to be doing it through military power, they're going to be doing it through AI. Humans are also driven by profit, so as long as these companies are, and people are making a lot of money, they're going to be flooding cash into the AI industry. Yes, maybe there's a bubble, maybe there's going to be a correction, but right now the profit incentive is with artificial intelligence. So I think getting people to step away from this based on a hypothetical is going to be really difficult, because we have concrete reasons right now, good or bad, for why AI needs to keep developing. Strategic, capitalist, again, good or bad. These are going to outweigh all of these nice to haves. That we have need to haves, which is continuing to progress, and then we have the nice to haves, which are going to be, oh, it'd be great if we could step back and have a discussion about this, all of us together, the whole of humanity. So I just don't think this is very pragmatic, but it's good to see. It's good to see it being debated. Although 30,000 signatories, not that impressive. Tell me what you think, though, because this is obviously an important issue. You will never stop everyone. Yeah, this is kind of it. So Geoffrey Hinton has talked about this. He said open sourcing models was a terrible idea. So open source we generally think of as a good thing, because we're giving away the weights and the biases and allowing people to deploy their own AIs on their own local devices or on servers. So we kind of think, oh, that's great. It's like we're giving it to the people. Geoffrey Hinton, again, this godfather of AI, has said, oh, no, don't do that. I think he liked it. What's he said? He said it was like allowing members of the public to buy nuclear weapons at Radio Shack. And I think he used Pandora's box as well as a metaphor. So by the moment you gave away the systems and allowed people to fine-tune at home, you lost control of them. So if somebody wants to fine-tune that and use it to make chemical weapons, yeah, off they go. Like they can do that now. So the box has well and truly been opened. And we have China and the US now competing with Europe in the middle, kind of saying, hey, we want to play too. We don't have any money, but we'd love to do this as well. But it is a two-horse race. You cannot slow down one without slowing the other on the geopolitical scale. And then within a nation, within companies, if one company slows down, it will get demolished by the other companies. So let's say Anthropic says, okay, yeah, we're going to slow down, we're going to be a lot more responsible. Arguably, they're already quite responsible. then they will just get crushed by the competition. So it doesn't matter. All of their good intentions will not matter if they slow down the rate of progress. And then that kind of dribbles down to us on an individual basis as well. The people who are using AI and are using it to become more productive, to do more. Again, this is capitalistic productivity. They are going to outstrip their colleagues or their competitors if they have their own business who are not using artificial intelligence. So there is this drive now that the technology is out there. It's no longer feasible or plausible to stand on the sidelines and say, I'm not going to use it, unless you are willing to become irrelevant, which is a perfectly fine decision, but you need to know that's what's going to happen. Yeah, Pandora's box is a good analogy for it. There's a lot of good it can do. So the other analogy is Prometheus stealing the flame from the gods. So that was punished because it was seen as the gods hated it. But what Prometheus was doing, he was taking the power from the gods and giving it to humanity. So open sourcing is that in a way. It's saying, hey, not only the billionaires get to play with these tools, we're going to make sure anyone with a little bit of technical knowledge, anyone who wants to learn, can have access to these tools. But obviously the gods were not happy about that because it took power away from them and it gave it to the humans. I think that is probably a more useful metaphor. But of course with fire we can do terrible things as well. We can burn down villages, we can wrought mass destruction, because the fire in the myth is technology, basically. So Prometheus took technology and we built upon it from there. And humans have done wonderful things and terrible things with technology over the last couple of thousand years. Yeah, Prometheus does work. I think it's probably a better one than Pandora's box, because Pandora's box was full of the evils of Earth. It skews a lot more negatively, whereas Prometheus is a similar story, but it's about the transition of power instead. Okay, I think on that note, I'm going to wrap up for the day because I need to get to this conference. I've got an hour to get there, and that is not going to happen. I'm not speaking at it, thank God. Otherwise I wouldn't be quite as relaxed. Awesome. I'm going to finish up for today. As always, make sure that you check out YouTube, where you'll be able to find the clips based off this live and all the other lives, and the newsletter as well, where you get a written summary of what's been discussed every single day, as well as the links. So for example, the thing that we did on the female spies waging sex warfare, which I didn't want to read through because it was a bit anecdotal, I'll give you the link there as well. I'll remove the paywall as well from it, so that you can access it, because otherwise it's very annoying. Oh, thank you, Momin. Oh wow, somebody sent me a lot of roses. Thank you, Momin. So that is going to be available in the newsletter. Newsletter is totally free. If you follow the links in my bio, it will take you to now my new Linktree replacement page, and you'll be able to find the newsletter there and the YouTube and subscribe to both, and that'd be awesome. I will see you next week. Next week I'm going on holiday, but not until Tuesday, and I'm hoping to continue to do the live streams. But we'll see how it goes. It depends on the internet. But Monday I will be around, so I'll see you on Monday. Thank you so much, everybody.